Hey, it's Rob with Phandroid.com, and I'm here with the Motorola Droid MAXX 2 and the Motorola Droid Turbo 2, and we're going to talk about some of the differences. First of all, the bread and butter of these devices is the battery and how long the battery lasts. So both of these phones are designed to have the battery last for up to 48 hours. Now, the Turbo 2, the battery's a little bit bigger at over 3,700 milliamp hours, while this one's just over 3,600 milliamp hours, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same battery, pretty much the same size, and should last longest. They both support quick charging as well, but the Turbo 2 will charge much faster. With 15 minutes of charging, you're going to get 13 hours of phone use, and with the MAXX, you're only going to get 8 hours. But either way, huge batteries, super quick charging, which is pretty awesome. One key difference is the size of the screen, which they look almost identical, but they're not. And actually, the Turbo 2 has a slightly smaller screen at 5.4 inches. The MAXX 2 is 5.5 inches. However, this is 1080p resolution, and this is Quad HD resolution, so you're going to get a much crisper image on the Turbo 2. It also has, the Turbo 2 has the shatterproof screen, which Motorola calls Shatter Shield. So the MAXX 2 has Gorilla Glass 3, and it is water resistant, which is nice. But this one, you could just drop it, and the screen's never going to shatter, which is pretty awesome. It's not made of Gorilla Glass. It's not made of glass at all. It's made of 5 different layers that make it pretty much close to indestructible. From a software standpoint, unfortunately, they're both running Lollipop 5.1.1. Hopefully they'll get an update to Marshmallow, but that's one of the key reasons that people are looking at these phones saying, man, I really like that, but is it going to get the update to Marshmallow? And we just don't know that answer right now. The more powerful device is clearly the Turbo 2. The MAXX 2 has a Snapdragon 615 processor, 1.7 gigahertz, while the Turbo 2 has a Snapdragon 810 with 2 gigahertz in its octa-core. So clearly the Turbo 2 is the more powerful of the two devices. It also has 3 gigabytes of RAM. So you've got the Snapdragon 615 with 2 gigabytes of RAM, and then you've got the Snapdragon 810 with 3 gigabytes of RAM. In terms of storage, the Turbo 2 also wins out. You've got 16 gigabytes over here, and you've got 32 gigabytes or 64 gigabytes over here. And they're both expandable, so that's a nice option. So you're not stuck with that amount. On the top, on both of them, you've got that micro SD slot. So you have the ability to expand the memory either way. Now, one interesting feature is if you do go with the Turbo 2 and you get the 64 gigabyte option, you also have the ability to trade in the device one time during your 2 years for a style change with Moto Maker. So speaking of style, both of these have kind of the similar looks. They're both silver, white backs, white fronts, but the Turbo 2 will be available on Motorola Moto Maker, which means you can customize the front. It can be white or black. You can customize the accents, which is basically the trim and this camera color and the camera ring, and the back can be Horween leather. It can be this soft touchback with this cool design in it, and there are some other designs they have in there, and tons of colors. Really, you can customize it with over 1,000 total combinations, which is awesome. And then for free, if you get that 64 gigabyte option, you can change that once throughout there. So you send it in, and they'll swap it out for you. This is not available in Moto Maker. The MAXX, you can take off the cover and swap it out, and there are 8 different backs you can get and snap in there, which is pretty neat. but it does not have close, even approaching the number of customizable colors and looks and feels as the Turbo 2. So the Turbo 2 wins there as well. In terms of size, they're both very similar. Actually, let's show you the screen, by the way, too. Whoop. So there's the screen difference. And you can see this, the Turbo 2 is just way brighter and crisper. They do have different wallpapers. I think the brightnesses are similar, but they're both really nice screens. In terms of dimensions, you can see they look pretty similar, and they really are in almost every facet. You can tell the bottom one here is the MAXX 2. It is way more curved. So you can see the curve to it, whereas the Turbo 2 has more of a slanted, masculine look. But they're almost the same exact thickness. They're almost the same exact height, almost the same exact width. It's really, really, really close here. The Turbo 2 is a little bit heavier and larger. But with that, you're also getting a bigger battery and a ton more features, and just more power in general. What else between the two? They both have similar cameras, but not identical. Don't get fooled. They both have 5 megapixel front-facing cameras, and 21 megapixel rear cameras. So when you hear that originally, you might think, oh, they've got the same cameras. No, they do not have the same cameras, for a couple reasons. First of all, on this rear camera, they are both 21 megapixels, but the Turbo 2 can record in 4K, so it can record 4K video, while the MAXX cannot. With that extra ability means when it's recording 1080p, you can record in 50 frames per second, you can do slow motion, and there's also some additional features in the software, such as video HDR, which actually, it's a hardware / software feature, I'd say. So the camera, the rear camera, they're both 21 megapixels, but you're going to get a lot more power and flexibility from the Turbo 2. Same goes for the front camera, and you can excuse me, you can tell that just by all the bells and whistles that appear at the top here. You can see ooh, excuse me, that there is a flash on the front of the Turbo 2. So front flash for selfies is a pretty neat feature. It's excuse me, it's also a wide angle lens, which is awesome, and there's a night mode. So if you record in night mode, it won't use the full 5 megapixels, but the picture will appear much more clearly. So similar cameras in terms of megapixels, not similar cameras in terms of everything else. Too bad these don't have glasses of water that come with them, because I feel like I need one very bad right now. Excuse me. Woo! And that's kind of sums up the main differences between these two devices. We'll have full reviews and go more in depth with them, so stay tuned to Phandroid.com. In the meantime, cheers and drink up your water.